Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is commentary number 2 on StarCraft 2 matchups. This is Austin here, of course. On Metalopolis, we're going to have Hesperide once more as the red Terran spawning at the bottom of the map. And cross spawn here is Steven, who's going to be this blue Zerg at the top of the map. So this is going to be a TvZ, pretty common matchup these days. And so just the game generally getting underway. We've got the Overlord Scout going out, and of course you can't really have anything special at this point. So we've got Steven droning up and Hesperide SCVing up. So according to this is of course Silver League play once more, except it's a couple weeks after the past replay I commentated on. So of course both players are not far more, but definitely more advanced than the last two we saw in the previous replay. I know Hesperide was one of them, but he has definitely progressed from, I believe, rank 20 something to now rank top 5 in his division. So here we have just the first supply depot going down, and there's going to be the drone scout coming into Hesperide's base. He is going to go after that SCV, so it is quite crucial that you noticed a little bit of the scout harass. I personally am not a fan of those, as it is quite annoying. There's the SCV going down, and Steven's just going to get the drone in his opponent's base. Of course, nothing special really to see, and will he get the extractor on the gas? That's an annoying gas block, as Terran cannot do it themselves since the SCV has to stay stuck on the refinery. But Protoss have it best. They can just warp in an assimilator, and Zerg have simply the extractor. They lose the scout, which you'll lose the scout anyway if you try to pull it out. So I think Zerg pretty well has it the best off. So here's the wall being completed and the barracks going down. So it's going to be a 14 hatch here for Steven, getting that quick expand instead of the pool. So I don't think we'll expect any. I don't think we should see any cheese or early harassment in the near future. And so here's that drone again going to work on the supply depot. Not sure if Hesperide is going to notice that. He's got to pay more attention to the minimal harasses, because if your opponent even as much as barely weakens your wall, it could be crucial to some of his unit's survival. So there he goes, getting to work on the other supply depot, but that Marine will come up for Hesperide. So there's the pool going down and gas coming down for Hesperide. So the pool for Steven, gas for Hesperide, and I'm sure we can expect a gas in the near future for Steven. Now there's the orbital command going down for Hesperide, and the extractor, is going to land here for the Zerg player. So now he's got that fast hatchery going down. It will probably land soon. Second Marine going to come out here for Hesperide, and I think he should have watched even that SCV's mineral. A couple minerals early in the game could make a difference, and if you just leave an SCV hanging on to them, it's of course minor details, but it does help early on. There's the mule coming down, and do we have Zelnaga vision here? Yes, we do, for that drone scout. So he's been pretty predominant early in the game here for Steven. He's gonna have that Zelnaga vision, and Tech Lab coming down here for Hesperide, so we can expect some M&Ms. We've got two queens coming in for Steven, so probably larva inject and creep spread as soon as possible. So does he have any Zerglings in production? Ironically, no, he does not, so he's actually quite unitless at this point. Still droning up, though, as any Zerg should do early. There's the Scout Marine coming out from Hesperide. He's probably going to go on that Zelnaga, and he will. There's the Scout, just another epic first engage. Scout goes down. There's the Marine taking control of the Zelnaga. So now we have Metabolic Boost coming down here for Zerglings, so that's going to be speed, but does he even have any Zerglings at this point? No, he does not, and so Stimpaks and Marauder Marines coming out of Hesperide's base. He's got quite a sizable army. Steven here still playing it conservative, though, just playing an economical game, really droning up. But even though he does only have a marginal population difference over Hesperide, so here's the second Marine probably going out looking for what's going on in Steven's base. There's the creep spine crawler, early two spine crawlers. So I guess he thought that was a creep tumor. I guess he is expecting early Marine pressure, and will that land in time? Because he does not have any Zerglings. So the Queen will just hold it off, of course, but it's a smart couple of spine crawlers. I'm sure he's expecting 2 racks pressure. So there's a Tech Lab coming down on the second rack, so he's probably going to go for 2 Tech Lab, 1 reactor, as we saw in the last game. So second extractor going down, and we're getting layer tech now for Steven. So now he's playing a very tech build. and he gets the 2 spine crawlers up. I'm sure that will help him hold early in the game, and the Scout Marine just returning with just 11 health, so I'm sure he'll have some stories to tell to his fellow Terran soldiers. There's the reactor coming down, so Hesperide will have a constant stream of M&Ms coming out. There's the first 4 Zerglings coming down for Steven, so he's just going to push out lightly with those. Stimpack still researching for Hesperide, and he's got an expansion coming down, so that's again a smart economical decision. I don't think he saw very much pressure from Steven, and so usually with Zerg you can't really win in macro play. You've just got to keep your opponent off balance always. So those M&Ms getting to work on even the metabolic boosted Zerglings, so I think the difference being the just sheer amount of troops. So there's 2 evolution chambers just landing now for Steven, so he's really playing tech. I think his major flaw here, though, is the lack of harassment or early units. Normally, if you are a Zerg player, you want a bunch of Zerglings coming out early, especially if you're going for the speed upgrade, and then you just want to have constant pressure on your opponent's mineral line and not allow them to build a little bit of a ball of M&Ms, as Hesperide was able to do. So now the 2 evolution chambers down, no upgrades being researched, and there's a spire for Steven, so he is looking at a real tech play, and he's going to have ground carapace and melee attacks coming down, so that's upgraded Zerglings, but a spire, so he needs to get a little more decisive with his play. No Zerglings out at this time, so a Hesperide push would literally result in victory at this point. That ball of M&Ms would honestly not be stoppable by 2 spine crawlers and just 2 queens and literally no forces. So there's another queen coming out, and he's gonna get the 2nd expansion, so that's just normal Zerg play. There's combat shield coming down for Hesperide, so a lot of tech and not very much engagement. So wow, look at the supply difference. Hesperide with the 59 to Steven's 50, so that is a huge difference. Again, Zerg should usually always be ahead in supply because of their constant making of drones, and they should always have just a consistent level of units flowing out and a lot of pressure. You cannot let a Terran just sit back and build up their forces, then hit you hard with a bunch of M&M. So there's the drone. He's just got the Marine's got the one Zelnaga, the drone's got the other, and here's going to be a changeling out now. So this is a pretty smart strategy, actually. The other game, I played a friend of mine, and here's another hatchery coming down. That is strange. So the layer tech has landed. Muta should be expected, and there's the Hellion coming down. So factory tech lab now. He's gonna get blue flame Hellions. Wow, that is a smart harass strategy. So Hesperide will probably put that Hellion out on his opponent. So here is the changeling from Steven just infiltrating his opponent's base. Oh my god, that is excellent changeling play. I've seldom seen changeling micro, so now he's gonna probably perform a traitor sack. There's 40 Zerglings coming out. Oh my lord, I guess it was worth the wait. I did not notice that. 40 sped up 1-1 Zerglings coming out, and wow, very smart play by Steven. I did not see any of that coming. I thought he was just going for a tech, not very unit filled play. I should be eating my words. He's going for a 3rd expand, and wow, that many Zerglings. He just saw his opponent's troop count, and just incredible. He's got Hesperide's got the 2nd Hellion out, but he has not put any pressure on his opponent's mineral line, which is essential for early game eco harass play. So there's the melee attacks level 2 and ground carapace level 2, and a baneling nest coming out. So 40 Zerglings here, 1-1 going into 2-2 with banelings. That is quite difficult to defend against. So here is going to be a hidden expand for Hesperide. I guess he did not want to place it here so as to avoid any pressure from Steven, but the armory going down there, so he'll get his upgraded factories. Another barracks going down, so you can expect a ton of M&Ms for Hesperide. He's just consistently building up an army. I'm surprised he's not put any pressure on with those Hellions, though, and just the 2-2 upgrades coming down. There's Terran infantry weapons level 1, so a late game upgrade for Hesperide, and I think in ways it is wise to place your expansion here for against the Zerg player, but in others it is not. There's an infestation pit, by the way, so infestors coming out and burrow, because then you can. It's not the brightest idea to place it here, because then you can, if you decide to link your command centers together, it's a very long journey to this mineral line from the other two. And so just a bunch of Marines coming out of Hesperide's main, so he's got a sizable force. And Steven just still sitting on those 40 Zerglings he had initially, so he's going to have centrifugal hooks, so he's looking for almost cracklings now, and this kind of reminds me of Stefano's play, who's actually a professional. If you guys watch HD StarCraft, he goes from the early cracklings into infestor play, which won him a bunch of games, so it seems as though Steven is modeling his playstyle after that. So here's going to be a full-out push by Hesperide, and he's got those 2 Hellions leading it off. I'm surprised he's not harassed enough with them, though. When you're getting Blue Flame Hellions, you want to just get up in your opponent's base and just harass them until they're getting sick and tired of it. So there's the 3 Mutas coming down, 2 missile turrets, presumably at Hesperide's mineral line, yes. So now, wow, a lot of pressure being put on here by Hesperide with those Blue Flame Hellions, among others. There's 22 Banelings coming in, though, so this could be a huge difference maker. +1 weapons landing, so now that will be an enormous game changer here in this battle. And there's the Muta coming down, being revealed to Hesperide. Not for very long, though. That thing's taken down almost imminently. So here are the Banelings coming into play and just melting through Hesperide's army. Good lord, speed landing there, and Hesperide's army just wiped out by Banelings. He's got 4 injured troops left. That is incredible. So let us go into the units killed, 46 to 45 in Steven's favor. So I'm surprised Hesperide was able to get the 45 kills. That's probably mostly from the Zerglings. So if the Zerg beats you by 1, there's 78 Zerglings coming out. Good lord, that will be a huge difference maker. If he can put pressure on here, he could have a huge chance to win it. Those upgraded Zerglings just streaming out of his bases. So anyway, on this topic, if you get 46 units killed, if you beat your opponent by 1 and you're a Zerg, that is incredible, because especially with Zerglings, because normally Zerglings are the much cheaper units. They're a lot more expendable, so if you're still able to out-kill your opponent's army with Zerglings, that is quite commendable. So here is a bunch of workers, as I said, making that long trip from the main and the natural to the second expand. So here is Zerg flyer attacks level 1 and vehicle weapons and infantry weapons, so a ton of upgrades landing for both players. Another engineering bay going down here for Hesperide, so he's just got a massive amount of structure. Barracks, engineering bay, another factory going down, so he is just putting everything out there. Look at that fast recuperation. So I think Steven did not take advantage of that window of opportunity. So a couple of infestors coming down, but I think had he responded immediately with a counterattack, he could have almost won the game because of those 4 units that remained for Hesperide. So now Mules coming down and the medevac getting to work on injured units. So I think Steven defended excellently there, getting upgrades perfectly in time. He's still ahead here in supply, but ultimately I find the difference maker being his lack of a reaction to his victory over Hesperide. I'm sure he could have realized that it was a heavy pressure coming in from Hesperide, and he could have just responded with a counterattack. What would he have lost? Some 70 Zerglings. That is a lot, but still I'm sure the pressure and damage he could have done to his opponent's massive natural here would have been great. So now just a ton of upgrades landing in for both players. There's just going to be a tech lab on the factory, a barracks and factory switching for reactor, so reactor Hellions obviously it seems to be imminent, and just a ton of barracks, and there's the starport there, so that's just probably the medevac. And whoa, I believe I missed what happened there. One unit killed off for Hesperide, so it must have been either an infestor, a changeling, or something of the sort, just a scout on Hesperide's base. I apologize for missing that one. So then another expand just landing here for Steven. 30 Mutas coming out, and Flyer Carapace level 1 going down now. So infantry armor level 1 finally coming down for Hesperide. Just siege tanks, there we go, siege play. So another expand coming out for Hesperide. So this is a very dodgy, weavy, eco-based play. And now Steven with those just ball of cracklings and a ton of Mutas. I see not how Hesperide is going to be able to hold this, but then again, it is an even battle and he has upgraded units, so let's see how the pressure comes finally. That long-awaited push, is he just going to mass, or is he going to push? I'm not sure. Oh, there's the Baneling morph coming down, so wow. just an admirable amount of banelings coming down here. Those things will hopefully, for Steven's part, roast Hesperide's army, but for Hesperide's part, if he can get that siege tech out fast enough. He does not have siege tech researched as of yet, so he's going to go for a push of his own, probably just to scout a little bit. And oh my god, I thought he was going to just completely dodge around Steven's army and push on his base, which would have been very unlucky for Steven and lucky for Hesperide. So here comes the push. Armies clashing, so now the banelings just getting in there, and the massive amount of units just picking off a lot of Hesperide's units. And let's look at that units lost tab. 96, 106 units killed, so it's actually Steven trailing, and he's going to immediately go in with the on-base pressure. Wow. He is just putting immense pressure on Hesperide's main, and there is the GG from Hesperide. So that is the end of our game, and wow, that was an admirable replay. I think each player, again, had their own flaws and mistakes in the game, but what was the difference maker was just the pure production power of the Zerg army. Look at that, 84 more Zerglings in production. I think on Hesperide's part, he was able to play tech very early, get a bunch of expansions out. Again, there's the third expand coming out. But I think he would have been better off putting his base over here, knowing that his opponent wasn't really in favor of harassment. So again, a lack of harassment between the two, but Hesperide was able to get an excellent amount of tech play on, and Steven, however, was able to hold excellently. So early on, without that 2-axe pressure from Hesperide, he didn't harass enough with the Hellions. When you get Blue Flame Hellions, their purpose is just to run into your opponent's mineral line here and just eradicate opposing workers. So I felt he kind of kept them in his main army, and that's more a purpose of for siege tanks and the like, and Banshees and other units of the sort. But I felt that he put a lot of pressure on with that, not necessarily all in, but that large attack on Steven, who countered with the banelings. So I think the timing of the banelings and cracklings and everything along those lines was absolutely flawless. He just was able to land the baneling pit in time for him to roast through that Terran army. And again, we'll look at that units killed tab. Only see 2 workers killed for Steven, 1 worker killed for Hesperide. So I think the harassment was not very evident. But 108 to 102, normally if you're a Zerg, you're expected to be behind in terms of units killed, as your units are a lot more expendable since they're Zerglings. Main problems, so the tech play was a real advantage for Hesperide, but the downside was the lack of Hellion harassment, which is normally the purpose of the units. As I said, on Steven's side, the early tech as well, the baneling timing just flawless. The only problem I can see really is this infestation pit that landed, and not really a prominent use of infestors in the game. So he didn't really have that Stefano play. He went right into mass mutas, and that was ultimately the game-winning factor, as those banelings just took out the ground army, and the mutas got to work on the main base. So ultimately, that's the main problem I can have, is just the infestation pit and the lack of early units, but he was able to come out on top. So thank you very much for tuning into this second screencast, I guess you could say, of StarCraft 2 commentary. I will see you next time.